Heavy Bullets is kind of a forgotten roguelike shooter. It doesn't get nearly as much love as Post Void, Mullet Mad Jack, Gunfire Reborn, or even a game like Immortal Redneck. It's even underrated among Devolver Digital published games. I know I passed over it for a long time because it only had one gun, but this game proved me wrong very quickly once I started playing it. In fact, I finally beat the game on a single run without bank withdrawals just recently, which was not an easy task. And then I did 2 more clears. In fact, you'll see some footage of the last one I did throughout this video. Now, there were quite a few things about this game that stood out, but one thing stood out the most after I finally won. It wasn't the fact that I only had one gun, the graphical style, or even the difficulty in and of itself. I played hard games before, but it was how the difficulty was handled in this game, and it was the fact that this game managed to avoid self-serve difficulty, aka opt-in challenge, whatever you want to call it. There's a variety of different terms for this. For those of you that don't know, it is a design philosophy where developers go out of their way to remove friction and challenge from a game on its default settings, causing the game to be a complete cakewalk unless players go out of their way to get a challenging gameplay experience. It is often a result of intentional design choices, though the effects may go far beyond what the developers originally envisioned. Even worse, some of these games give almost no real incentive to seek said challenge outside of a simple achievement in Steam or inside of the game itself. Now, not every game that has this kind of design is automatically bad, but it does undermine the difficulty of these games, especially for skilled gamers, and it is especially a problem for action games. Heavy Bullets does not have this phenomenon. Here, the developer designed his game around one default difficulty, and that difficulty is challenging enough. It does not hold back, since even the earlier stages can make mincemeat of new players. But it goes further than that. This game sends a strong message to players that the primary way to play this game is to keep moving and try to speedrun it. That is the goal beyond just winning, because not only do you have a speedrunning achievement via Steam, and the end result screen showing how fast you finished the game if you did finish it, the game's online leaderboards are centered around speedrunning. And in the game itself, you're forced to keep moving because you're not allowed to backtrack in each stage beyond one room or so. If you try to go too far back, you'll see a laser barrier blocking your way. Also, you can't cheese the game by not fighting at all, because in order to exit each stage, you cannot have any remaining enemies nearby. Plus, there are plenty of different enemy types that behave differently from each other, including a variety of different gun turrets that can chew up your limited health quickly. There's no getting out of combat here. If players do want an easier time with this game, there is a bank system. The bank system provides quite a few different things, like being able to sell unwanted items, and being able to buy a discount power-up that applies to the stores during a run. But most importantly, like any other bank, you can deposit and withdraw money, but you can also deposit items as well and store them for later. So the game gives players a way to set aside resources for future runs in case they die. But the most noteworthy thing about this is that the game forces you to opt in to take advantage of this. Whenever you die, your money does not get automatically deposited into the bank. The player has to make that decision, whether it be through depositing money throughout the course of a run, or by purchasing last will from the bank or life insurance. The life insurance has to be bought multiple times to get the most out of it, and last will is more effective but takes up an entire inventory slot, so there are consequences to using these options. If you die with a bunch of money on you without any of these things being used, you lose all of that money and anything else you had. On top of that, the game has separate leaderboards for runs that use this compared to ones that don't use withdrawals, which means that the game recognizes it as a lesser achievement, which it is. Now, those mechanics might sound like something straight out of a roguelite, but the thing is, this game is quite different from an actual roguelite such as Rogue Legacy. In a game like that, you are pushed to engage with death as a mechanic in order to improve future characters through a skill tree. These games are not necessarily designed to be beaten in a single run, at least not on your first few runs. You can't really opt out of that either. I beat Rogue Legacy years ago, and it's designed with more of an RPG or Metroidvania style progression, instead of forcing the player to learn how to play the game in a more efficient manner or test their skills. These games often have a more inverted difficulty curve as a result, because you can eventually grind your way to victory. And I'm not necessarily saying that as an insult, because these games still do have some challenging moments like some of the boss fights. But passing along skills, money, and other things down from run to run tends to make individual runs less meaningful, and usually softens the challenge over the course of your time with these kinds of games from my experiences. Thankfully, that is not the case with Heavy Bullets. This game is balanced around being able to speed run the game from start to finish with no inherited money or items from previous runs. The RPG progression is not here either, no skill tree. The progression here is like a classic arcade shmup, when you're not using the bank withdrawal system, because you're forced to learn how the game works, what the best items are, the best upgrades to buy, and how to approach the different enemies throughout the 8 stages, and then you have to be able to deal with a little bit of RNG on top of that. That's how you force players to truly level up and improve their own skills, instead of depending on a skill tree to advance their character. Like any good action game, it ultimately rewards good execution at the end of the day, and that's how it should be. Go out of your way to play this game, get it on Steam. It's only $10 and it'll be even cheaper whenever it goes on sale again. And if you have played it, let me know what you think of it in the comments. Also, let me know if you're tired of games getting watered down by self-serve difficulty, because devs are too scared to give gamers a real challenge out of the gate. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and if you really liked this video, hit the hype button as well. Thank you for watching, I'll see you again soon.